Danny and Omi here, coming to you from the den. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. We're here to talk about the season finale of The Mandalorian. And what a great episode it was. Peyton Reed delivered on this finale. He did an amazing job. He had directed the second episode called The Passenger. And, you know, that one was a little bit lighthearted. It had a little bit of that terror with that giant spider. But here, he took it back to the Star Wars lore. You know, he brought it back to, you know, the action. There is a lot to talk about. We got a few reveals towards the end of the episode. There was an after credit scene, so we'll be sure to talk about that. But first, let's go ahead and recap this episode.
So the opening scene starts with Slave One and Mando, Boba Fett, Cara Dune on the ship. I believe Fennec too, right? Yes, and they're on the ship. They're shooting at this Imperial shuttle, and who we see inside is Dr. Pershing.
Yes.
He is the clone engineer.
Yep.
Who's been working with those experiments with Baby Yoda, Grogu.
Yep.
And so, anyway, we see that they end up boarding the ship.
What was interesting about that whole scene, we see the Imperial shuttle pilot speaking about the incident in Alderaan from his perspective. And he had this conversation with Cara, you know, telling her, like, I was there. I was there when Alderaan was destroyed. And the shuttle pilot mentions there were millions that died in those bases while the galaxy cheered. And that was very powerful because, again, we're looking at it from his perspective, the way he saw it. And he tells Cara Dune, destroying your planet was a small price to pay to get rid of terrorism in the galaxy.
That's right.
And that's how the Empire viewed it. To him, it was justified to destroy Alderaan. And you can see how that impacted Cara. I mean, she took him out right away. She gave him warnings, of course. Later on in the episode, you see that again, where from the Empire's perspective, they're the heroes. They're the ones who are bringing order to the galaxy.
That's right. And then we see Boba Fett and Mando walk into a cantina, and they are there to recruit Bo-Katan and Casca Reeves.
Yeah.
To join their mission in saving the child again. And quick little thing that goes down, Boba Fett and Casca Reeves actually throw down in the cantina. I mean, a little quick action scene, but we got to see two Mandalorians going at it.
It makes sense that Mando went to find Bo-Katan because he knew that the child was with Moff Gideon, and he knew that Bo-Katan was looking for Moff Gideon, so it made sense for him to go get some help.
Yeah, and they make a trade-off, right? Or at least she makes him an offer. You know, consider joining our cause, our mission, and I'll help you.
She mentions she wants Moff Gideon, she wants the Darksaber, and Mando tells her, all I care about is the child. Whatever you want, I don't care.
That's right.
And he makes that deal, he makes that compromise, and we see that again play later.
Right. He did say he is my only priority.
Right.
Which means, you know, it's all about the baby Yoda. It's all about the child. So.
Yep. Now they're planning how to board Moff Gideon's cruiser. They have the stolen shuttle. They're going to use that. They're planning things out. And Dr. Pershing tells them, listen, it's going to be a little tougher because they have the Dark Troopers.
He pretty much lays out where everything is in the Imperial ship, you know, where the brig is, where Grogu's being held, where the Dark Troopers are. And so he kind of helps them out.
They're getting the plan ready. Bo-Katan makes it clear Moff Gideon is mine, and Cara Dune says, well, we need him alive. You know, he's a former ISB agent. He has information. You know, you can't kill him.
Everybody has their own agenda.
Exactly. Yeah, everybody does. Because then Bo-Katan says, well, he's mine. You leave him to me. And you can tell that there's a reason why she's saying it.
Well, she does say, I want him to surrender to me.
Yes.
She does say that.
The thing is, to her, there's more meaning to her words. To Mando, Cara, and everybody else on the ship, they don't know what her intentions are and where she's coming from. And then we have a really cool sequence where the shuttle comes out of hyperspace. Then the Slave One is coming out of hyperspace right behind the shuttle, shooting at it. Obviously, you know, staging an act. But Moff Gideon tells them, send out the TIE fighters. So they launch 2 TIE fighters. They're not able to launch anymore because the Imperial shuttle is right in the path of where the TIE fighters are supposed to launch from.
And Moff Gideon puts on his face, you can see his expression like, I know why they're here.
I know what's going on.
I know who they're after.
Yep.
And so they land into the Imperial launch pad inside the ship, and they all come out just shooting.
Yeah.
Because they're supposed to create a distraction.
A diversion.
A diversion, that's right. And then Mando comes out to do his own thing.
Right, after they clear out the hangar, Mando comes out. They mention the Dark Troopers, so on his way to pick up Grogu, he's gonna go ahead and release the hatch so that the Dark Troopers are not an issue.
Right.
But by the time he gets there, they're about to come out. And the
One
door
does come out.
the door is about to close, and you see one of the Dark Troopers, sticking his hands out. It was very Terminator-like.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. It's funny you said that. Because he did come out and just, on kill mode, just like a Terminator would. That was a really cool scene to see Mando fighting a Dark Trooper. You can see how the Dark Trooper is really strong.
Yeah.
And
he struggled. Mando was getting
struggled.
tossed around.
Yeah, but he had his Beskar armor on, which protected him. But you can see the beating that he was taking.
Yeah, that one scene where the Death Trooper is just punching.
Oh my God.
Him in the face, but the Beskar armor is not bending.
That's right.
But the ship hull is.
That's right.
His head is digging into the wall of the ship. That gave Mando an opportunity to use his flamethrower.
That's right.
The Dark Trooper kind of tosses him aside. He pulls out his Beskar spear.
That's right.
And goes to town.
Pierces the spear through the Dark Trooper's neck, and that's what kind of shuts him off or kills him, right?
Yep.
So, yeah. So now we know Beskar spear through the neck of a Dark Trooper. You're done.
Yeah, it's done. Mando defeats the Dark Trooper. He goes to the cell to find Grogu, and lo and behold, Moff Gideon is there.
Moff Gideon, he makes a point to talk about Bo-Katan, like, I know why she's here. I know what she wants. And pretty much it's the Darksaber.
The Darksaber brings power. Whoever wields the sword has the right to claim the Mandalorian throne.
Right.
So Mando is talking to him and telling him,
hey, I just want the kid. And they kind of just come to an agreement, Moff Gideon says, take the kid, leave, we'll go our separate ways, and that's it.
And he did say, we got what we wanted, which was his blood.
That's right.
And Moff Gideon does say, the child is special. He has the potential to bring order back to the galaxy. So I really feel that there's a meaning to those words.
Yes. So Mando goes for Grogu, and before he picks him up, Moff Gideon just attacks him.
Yes.
And you can see him using the Darksaber on Mando. But, Mando with the Beskar armor.
Right, he's blocking the attacks.
That's right.
Very well choreographed scene, which was really cool because, we knew when Mando got the Beskar spear that was going to be a weapon that he was going to be able to use against the Darksaber. Mando won. He was able to beat Moff Gideon.
But that was all part of the plan.
Yes.
Let me ask you something. Do you think that when Mando and Moff Gideon were talking at the brig, he knew that he was sort of defeated, Moff Gideon? Or do you think that maybe he has a plan like, let me just get the Mandalorians against each other? Because he knows that in order to get the sword, you have to beat someone in combat, correct? So you think he knew that?
I believe that he was thinking of ahead, right?
Right.
He was taking the necessary steps, and he was 3-4 moves ahead. Okay, I'm gonna try to take out Mando, but if Mando does defeat me, well, I know that he's now gonna have the Darksaber, and that's gonna pit him against Bo-Katan.
Right.
And we see how Moff Gideon instigates that, because when Mando brings Moff Gideon to the bridge, when Bo-Katan sees them coming through the door, she has that look.
Yeah, like, wait, what just happened?
Yes, and she has a, what just happened? And Cara Dune says, oh, he brought him in alive.
Right.
And Moff Gideon then says, oh, that's not what she's talking about.
Yeah, and Moff Gideon says, well, the sword now belongs to you. And he's, directing that to Mando.
Yeah.
But Mando says, no, this actually belongs to her.
And right before that, Moff Gideon tells Bo-Katan, why don't you just kill him right there where he stands and take it?
Yes.
So he was already instigating, and Mando was like, "Oh, here, take it. This is yours."
Yeah.
And Moff was like, "No, that's not how it works," and she knows it. She wouldn't take it. And Moff Gideon tells her that it's not the power of the sword itself, but it's the power of the story.
That's right.
And you have to defeat the wielder in combat in order to be able to claim the Darksaber. Mando says, "Okay, I yield here," but she still won't take it.
That's right. But that's really interesting because you can see how honorable she is to her Mandalorian creed, to the way she was taught.
Well, what we have to see now is what's most important to her. Being Queen of Mandalore, or have someone sit on the throne that will be able to bring Mandalore back to his former glory. Mando can do the job if he wanted to, and she could guide him, but she's now having this internal conflict of, should I let another Mandalorian wield the saber, or should I? And we're gonna see that pay off later on. I believe that season 3 will touch up on that. So it's curious to see what's going to happen in the future.
Yes.
When Mando opened the airlock and those dark troopers were floated, the first thought in my mind was like, well, how is that gonna work? Because they can fly, and we see that later on. Right?
They come back.
Yeah, right when they're having that interaction, they get the alert and they see that all of those dark troopers are coming back into the cruiser, and they're in trouble. And Moff Gideon tells them, like, hey, when they get through those doors, everybody here is going to be taken out except for me and the child. At that moment, they're interrupted by another alert,
and then we see an X-wing coming in.
Yeah, and you hear Cara, "One X-wing? Great, we're saved," very sarcastically, but she just doesn't know.
That's right. And when she said that, it brought me back to the title of the episode, The Rescue. I'm like, oh, they are being rescued.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really the rescue of the child per se. They were being rescued.
Yep.
One of the next shots we see is Grogu's
ears.
eyes and ears lift. And so it was like, oh, he was getting a moment of like hope. A moment of hope, and that was just so cool to see. And in my mind, I had a feeling, I kind of knew what we see next is the dark troopers, they stop attacking,
and we see Mando, Fennec, Cara, they're all seeing through the monitors that there's a hooded figure.
That's right.
Coming in.
The monitor is black and white, so we don't really know who this hooded figure is yet. And Bo-Katan says, "A Jedi?"
Yeah.
And then we see...
And Moff Gideon looks startled, right?
That's
he
right.
was like, whoa.
That's right. And then we see the next shot is a green lightsaber. You see the hooded figure from behind. So you still don't see who this person is.
Yes.
But you do see that green lightsaber. That was so good. Because, I could already start thinking, okay, it must be this person, right? And the hooded figure starts kicking butt, right? Starts slashing these dark troopers apart, and he's just going through the Imperial ship trying to get to where they are in the cockpit, right?
And the crazy thing is like by this point you kind of already know who it is, but you're almost in disbelief,
right?
And you're telling yourself, I was telling Omi while we were watching this, it has to be this person, because if it's not this person, I will be pissed. It was almost a moment of, I hope it is who it is. You see this really cool scene, right? Which is very reminiscent of that one scene in Rogue One where Darth Vader is coming down the passageway in that rebel shuttle, and he's just taking out the rebel soldiers. And you see the same thing with the Jedi that's coming in to save them. And you see Grogu up on the screen, and he's
touching the monitor.
And that's how we were when we were watching.
That's right. We were touching the TV like, oh, this is it.
This is it. This is it. So you could totally relate with that moment. Like, it was such a great moment, and Mando realizes, like, oh, this is the Jedi. And then the doors open.
That's right. And then we see the hooded figure walk in, and he looks up, and it's Luke
Skywalker.
So amazing, so good, and of course digitized.
It was pretty much the same method that they used to bring Princess Leia back and Tarkin in Rogue One, but
we got to see him.
We got to see Luke Skywalker in all his glory. And the great thing is, this is what everyone wanted. Everyone wanted to see this version of Luke Skywalker, the Jedi Master, because he displayed that power and that control over the Force. You know, when he's chopping down all those Dark Troopers and he gets to the last one, he just crushes it like a tin can. And it was such a very cool visual moment, action moment, inspirational, hopeful moment.
That's right, it was hopeful. And not only did we get Luke Skywalker, we also got R2-D2, and that was so cool because R2-D2 interacted with Grogu, and that was so sweet.
Yes. I mean, I'm sure he's looking at him like, oh, you're like a little mini version of Yoda.
Right.
I shall call you Baby Yoda.
Yeah, he starts chirping the way he does, right? And it was just really so cool to see. And then, of course, we see the goodbye scene between Mando and Grogu. And that was really cool and sweet moment because Mando picks up Grogu and Baby Yoda reaches for his face same way he did with that monitor. He reaches for his face and touches his helmet. And this is the third time that we see Mando's face now. He took off his helmet.
And it's the first time that Grogu sees his face.
That's right. And he was sort of like examining it, sort of like, oh, that's who you are underneath there. And he touches his face. And we can see the sort of sentiment in Mando's face.
And connection.
That's right.
It was very touching. It was very well played, very subtle, but it really summarized what the season was and that relationship between Grogu and Mando.
So awesome and so good to see, especially in the season finale. I love that they did that, and we got some sort of an opening. An opening, because now we can see the relationship develop even more when they do come back together, right?
Because this is going to be a new chapter. You know, Mando's mission was to deliver the child to the Jedi, which he did, and Grogu was hesitant, and Mando says, oh, he doesn't want to go with you, and Luke tells him, he's just asking you for your permission.
And then Mando tells Grogu, it's time to go, don't be afraid. And we see Luke just look on and say, may the Force be with you. Great episode overall. I mean, great season.
Awesome finale. It was great. And, you know, after Luke goes away, he takes Grogu, gets on the elevator, and he's with R2 and the doors close. And that was pretty much it. But it kind of almost leaves us at a cliffhanger. What's going to happen next? What's going to happen in the next season?
It leaves us intrigued. It leaves us wanting more. I definitely want to see more development with all the characters, even the minor ones. I want to see how this all comes together, and Luke's storyline now with Grogu, what's that going to look like?
Right.
You know, what's their adventure going to be?
I feel like there's more to that story, and Grogu is probably going to go off on his own journey, but it'd be great to see a little bit more of Grogu's training with Luke, what leads to potentially Grogu going in his own direction, and Luke continuing the Jedi Academy and training other Jedis, leading up to the betrayal of Kylo Ren and the New Order. Because in this season, we've seen the seeds being planted for the sequel trilogy, demonstrating the importance of certain things. You know, the movies don't go into too much details, but the shows, the animated shows, they give you these tidbits of information that fills in the gaps, makes it a fuller story, and hopefully they can fix some things, like why was Jake Skywalker a hermit in a planet and he just stopped being a Jedi? And yes, that wasn't Luke Skywalker. That wasn't my Luke Skywalker. That was Jake Skywalker.
Jake. I'm like, did I miss something?
This Luke Skywalker we saw in The Mandalorian, that's my Luke. That's going to be the only Luke I know.
Jake.
Before we wrap it up, there was an after credits scene.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was really cool. That gave me such a Marvel feel. So, again, to mention, every character in the show has their own agenda. And we see that in the last scene, in the after credits, where Bib Fortuna is hanging out on the throne.
But then we see Boba Fett come in. He's
That's
coming
right,
down the
Boba Fett.
stairs,
Mhm.
goes up to Bib Fortuna,
Mm-hmm.
and Bib Fortuna's, speaking to him in Huttese,
Mhm.
telling him like, hey, where you been? I heard
Mhm.
things about you, and
But he pretty much just shoots him, kills him.
popped him.
Done.
Like, there's no conversation to be
There
had
is
here.
none. Right. We see Boba Fett walk up to the throne area, and he takes his seat.
Yeah, and then Fennec goes grab some absinthe and sits next to him. And that's how the show ends.
That's
and we
right.
get the title card of the Book of Boba Fett,
Mm-hmm.
coming December 2021.
Another spin-off.
Yeah, so this is a spin-off to The Mandalorian.
Mhm.
And the interesting thing is that The Mandalorian Season 3 is due to come out fall of 2021.
Mhm.
So we're going to get some good Star Wars shows next year. What was your impressions of the episode? There was a lot that we spoke about, a lot of exciting moments.
Mhm.
But what are your hopes moving forward, and what are you looking most forward to?
I am looking forward to Bo-Katan's storyline, how that's going to play out with now Mando having the Darksaber, what she's going to do in terms of, her character and her kind of, Mando can take the throne, or I'll take the sword without combat. I just want to see her character develop some more. Of course, excited for Grogu and Luke. I want to see that, I want to see that interaction and how the training is going to go. Overall, I'm just excited for the progression of the storyline in general. It's, they brought us to a great point. The season finale was they sort of tied in a lot of things that we were asking about in the beginning of the season. I love this show, and I'm excited to see what's next.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and do a wrap-up video discussing the season as a whole. So we'll be talking about that. We'll put that video together. But I feel that this season delivered. There was a lot of fan service throughout. You got, Bo-Katan. You got Ahsoka. We eventually got Luke and R2. We got Boba Fett. And the great thing about The Mandalorian is that it's a launching pad for a lot of the new shows coming out. Ahsoka Tano's getting a show. The Rangers of the New Republic is coming out. The Book of Boba Fett. And it's great to see what this show has done for Star Wars.
I think they're just kind of making up for, what they didn't do.
Right.
And sort of pleasing the fans, which is great. And what's really interesting about this season, particularly the last 2 episodes, we see this idea of perspective and what that looks like for each character and their beliefs, and how honorable they are and not so honorable, or it's captivating to see characters go through transitions.
That's a wrap for this video. Feel free to leave a comment below, drop a like, and if you want to stay up to date with our content, hit the subscribe button, hit that notifications bell, and make mine Favreau.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.